right. A social event for the high and mighty.
There are moments in gaming when a mid-budget title surprises you in a way the biggest studios never saw coming. That's the magic of AA games. They don't chase flashy marketing or giant explosions. They focus on heart, craft, and the kind of storytelling that sneaks up on you. In today's video, we're looking at 15 AA games that outshine plenty of AAA releases. These are the games that stick with you long after the credits roll, the ones you recommend to friends because you know they'll feel something real. So settle in, take a breath, and let's start with a game that proved how powerful a smaller project can be. Hellblade is one of those experiences where you can feel the weight of every step Senua takes. The world around her feels raw and unsettling, and the voices in her head almost pull you into her struggle. What makes it stand out isn't just the visual detail, it's how personal everything feels. The combat is tight and grounded, and even the quiet moments hit you just as hard. There's something brave about how the game lets you sit with her emotions instead of rushing you through. By the time you reach the final moments, you feel like you've walked the entire journey with her. It's simple, focused, and way more powerful than it has any right to be.
Focus is the only way.
A Plague Tale: Innocence has this quiet way of pulling you in before you even notice what's happening. You start with Amisha and Hugo just trying to survive, and suddenly you're completely invested in them, like they're real kids you're trying to protect. The world feels harsh and desperate, but there's a strange beauty in the way it's shown. Every alley, every field, every shadow feels alive. The stealth isn't complicated, but it's tense in all the right places, and those moments when the rats swarm still hit hard even after you've seen them a few times. What really makes the game shine is the bond between the siblings. There's warmth, fear, frustration, all mixed together in a way that feels human. By the end, you don't just remember the story, you remember how the journey felt.
We have to keep going.
Notes. Speak up. Don't make me hurt you again. Be careful, goddammit!
The ground is shaking. Amicia, the ground is shaking.
Don't stop! They're right behind us! Straight on! Carry straight on!
But where are we going?
Kingdom Come Deliverance hits different because it doesn't try to make you a chosen hero or some unstoppable warrior. You start as Henry, a regular guy who barely knows how to swing a sword, and there's something refreshing about that honesty. The world feels grounded in a way most games don't even attempt. Every village, every forest path, every little detail feels like it was pulled straight out of real history. The combat takes patience, and yeah, it can feel awkward at first, but when it clicks, it's rewarding in a very real way. What carries the game is how human everything feels. You mess up, you learn, you grow, and that slow climb becomes the story. By the time you're deep into Henry's journey, you realize you weren't playing a power fantasy. You were living someone's life, and that's what makes it unforgettable. Sniper Ghost Warrior Contracts 2 is the kind of game that reminds you how satisfying patience can be. You line up a shot, breathe for a second, and when that bullet finally lands from half a map away, it hits with this clean sense of focus that a lot of bigger shooters never manage. The missions are built in a way that lets you think, plan, and move at your own pace, which makes every successful run feel earned. The long-range contracts are the highlight, and there's a certain calm that settles in when you're watching through the scope, waiting for that perfect moment. It's a straightforward game, but it's sharp and confident about what it wants to be. If you enjoy taking your time and pulling off those precise, quiet kills, this one sticks with you. Alan Wake feels like stepping into a late-night thriller where the world never quite sits still. The town of Bright Falls looks peaceful at first, but there's this soft tension under everything, like the shadows are paying attention to you. The way the game blends light and darkness creates a rhythm that's both eerie and exciting. You're not some fearless action hero. You're a writer trying to make sense of a story that's slipping out of your control, and that twist gives the whole journey a personal edge. The flashlight mechanic keeps every encounter a little unpredictable, and the atmosphere carries a slow burn that gets under your skin in the best way. By the time you reach the final chapters, you're not just trying to survive, you're trying to understand the mystery that pulled you in from the start.
one thing down.
Dishonored has this incredible way of making you feel like a ghost in a world full of danger. The city of Dunwall is full of character, gritty, tense, and alive, and every corner you turn feels like it could tell a story. The beauty of the game is how it lets you approach situations your way. Want to slip past guards silently or get creative with chaos and powers? It rewards experimentation and clever thinking. The powers themselves are satisfying without feeling overpowered, and the story reacts subtly to how you play, which makes every run feel personal. Honestly, it's the kind of game you can lose hours in without realizing, just exploring and seeing how the world bends around your choices. There's a quiet thrill to that, and it's unforgettable.
Unless accompanied by an officer of the watch. Escort through the solitary wing must be scheduled in advance, with 1 week's notice.
Greedfall has this charm that sneaks up on you. On the surface, it's a mix of exploration, politics, and combat, but the way it blends them makes every decision feel meaningful. The island you explore is gorgeous and full of life, from bustling towns to wild forests, and it's easy to get lost just wandering around. The story doesn't shove itself down your throat. It lets you navigate alliances, secrets, and consequences in a way that feels natural. Combat is tactical without being frustrating, and the dialogue gives your choices weight. Sometimes you feel clever, other times, well, you laugh at your own mistakes. By the time you're deep into Greedfall, you realize it's not just about the main quest, it's about the world you've been living in, and that's what makes it stick. Metro 2033 is the kind of game that pulls you into a world that feels both terrifying and oddly alive. Walking through the tunnels beneath Moscow, you feel the weight of every step, and the silence punctuated by distant noises keeps you on edge the whole time. The story is grim but gripping, and it never shies away from making you feel small in a huge, hostile world. Ammo is scarce, the enemies are relentless, and every encounter makes you think twice about rushing in. But that tension is exactly what makes it so memorable. By the time you reach the surface and see the ruined world bathed in light, you feel like you've survived something bigger than yourself. It's atmospheric, it's haunting, and it still holds up as one of the best AA shooters. Metro Last Light takes everything that made 2033 so intense and sharpens it. The world feels more alive, more detailed, and every mission keeps that same edge-of-your-seat tension. You're still crawling through dark tunnels, but the storytelling is tighter and the characters feel more real people you actually care about surviving in this bleak, post-apocalyptic world. Combat is brutal when it needs to be, but the game rewards patience, planning, and clever use of your environment. There's a mix of quiet exploration and sudden bursts of chaos that keeps you constantly engaged. By the end, it's hard not to feel like you've truly lived in the Metro, not just played through it, a rare feeling that most AAA shooters can't quite replicate.
You can keep processing if you want, or head on up to Miller's briefing.
Vampire has this dark, moody charm that sneaks up on you. You step into the shoes of Dr. Jonathan Reed, torn between saving lives and feeding the vampire within, and that moral tension gives the game a real emotional weight. The streets of London feel alive, rainy, and dangerous, and every choice matters. Not just for the story, but for how the world reacts around you. Combat is strategic, but it's the narrative decisions that really hook you. You're constantly weighing risk and reward in a way that keeps you invested. By the end, you realize it's not just a vampire story, it's about consequences, empathy, and surviving in a world that's both beautiful and cruel. The Outer Worlds has this playful, slightly sarcastic energy that makes exploring the colonies genuinely fun. You start small, but the choices quickly pile up: who to trust, who to screw over, and how to shape the future of entire settlements. The writing is sharp, funny, and surprisingly personal, which makes every companion feel like someone you'd actually hang out with. or argue with endlessly. Combat is smooth and satisfying, but it's really the freedom to approach situations your way that makes the game memorable. By the time you're deep in the story, you're laughing, frustrated, and thinking, wow, I actually made this world my own. And that sense of ownership is rare, especially in an AA game. Dishonored 2 takes everything you loved about the first game and turns it up a notch. The world of Karnaca is stunning sun-soaked streets hiding danger in every shadow, and it feels more alive than ever. Playing as either Emily or Corvo changes the way you approach every mission, and the powers you unlock are creative, satisfying, and sometimes downright fun to experiment with. Stealth, chaos, or a mix of both. It rewards your style while keeping things tense and unpredictable. The story is clever, the characters are memorable, and the way your choices ripple through the world gives the game real weight. By the end, you're left thinking about all the different ways you could have tackled each mission, and that replay value just sticks with you. A Plague Tale Requiem builds on the emotional core of the first game and takes it even deeper. Following Amisha and Hugo's journey, the stakes feel higher, the world darker, but somehow even more beautiful in its details. The relationship between the siblings is still at the heart of everything, and the game lets you feel every small victory and heartbreaking loss alongside them. Stealth and strategy are smoother this time, but the tension is just as sharp. Those moments with the ever-present threat of the rats still make your heart race. By the end, it's not just about survival anymore, it's about the journey, the people you care for, and the way the story lingers long after you put the controller down.
Smiling.
It's true. Oh, look up there. The house with the weather vane. That's ours.
Oh, right above.
Luke's the finest.
Prey is one of those games that quietly sneaks under your skin. The space station feels alive, eerie, and just a little too smart for comfort, making every corner a mix of curiosity and tension. You're not a superhero, you're just trying to figure out what's happening, and that uncertainty keeps every encounter intense. The gameplay lets you experiment with powers, weapons, and tools in ways that feel satisfying and clever, rewarding curiosity and creative thinking. And the story, well, it slowly unfolds in pieces, pulling you in without ever shouting at you. By the time you reach the climax, you feel like you've earned every revelation, and the station sticks in your mind long after you've left it.
Attention. Station leadership has issued an alert. All personnel should report to muster stations immediately and await further instructions.
Kingdoms of Amalur. Reckoning is a colorful, fast-paced RPG that surprises you with just how much fun it can be. The combat is smooth, responsive, and ridiculously satisfying. Whether you're slashing through hordes of enemies or pulling off flashy magic combos, it never feels repetitive. The world is vast and alive, full of quirky characters, hidden stories, and little details that make exploration a joy. The story hits familiar fantasy beats, but it's the freedom to craft your character and approach challenges your way that makes it memorable. By the end, you're left with this warm, slightly nostalgic feeling, like you just spent hours in a world that was made for you to enjoy every second. And that wraps up our look at 15 AA games that outshine most AAA titles. Each one proves that you don't need a massive budget to deliver unforgettable gameplay, incredible worlds, and stories that stick with you. Whether it was tense stealth, emotional journeys, or pure action, these games show how passion, focus, and creativity can make something truly special. If you've played any of these, drop your favorite in the comments. I'd love to hear which ones left a mark on you. And if you haven't tried some of them yet, trust me, they're worth diving into. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.